Greetings, and thank you for coming to Wenzel Plaza for No Kings on this really amazing day across our nation. I'd like to invite you to come closer because when the musicians are playing, they are going to be playing some songs that we can sing along to. We have people in the audience who are handing out sheets of lyrics if you would like one. Otherwise, you can come up here to the sign at the front and scan the QR code and the lyrics will pop up on your phones. We also have We the People, a QR code that you can scan on your phone. It'll take you right to our email address so that you can send us a short note and we will put you on our email list for any future events. I want to express gratitude for the musicians, Aaron and Michelle Kaplan and Jose Ortiz, and also to the speaker, Brian Ewert, and to all of you who have come here today to show up for your community, for your neighbors, for your state, for your nation. Just a reminder, this is going to be a peaceful protest today, and if we encounter any counter-protesters, we will meet them with peace and not be reactive to them at all. So, and one other thing, when we're over on Veterans Parkway on that sidewalk, it's an extra wide sidewalk, and it's important to hold the space closest to the road, on the sidewalk, and leave a walking space for pedestrians who need to move past us. So right now, I am going to introduce the musicians, and after the musicians will be another short introduction to what we're doing here today, then Brian Ewert, and then Brian Ewert will take us over to Veterans Parkway. And so Michelle and Aaron Kaplan and Jose Ortiz, thank you so much for the music that you're gonna play for us today. And if anyone else needs any more lyrics, we do have extras in an envelope. Thank you so much. And give yourself a round of applause.
Hi everybody, thanks for being here. We are going to start with this original song that I wrote back in 2022 for Independence Day back then, but I think it still applies today. And just excuse us a sec while we get our music together here. Okay. Yeah. Today is Independence Day for our country, but I'm searching, what does that mean? United we stand, divided we fall, in reckless changing laws we have seen. We used to be certain we could vote for our leader and our state would uphold who we choose. Now some people say our votes can't be trusted. They're calling it all a big ruse. Our country, land of the free, with our Statue of Liberty. I used to think I could be me and even have rights to privacy. To be a citizen meant something. But with every passing day, that freedom's being stripped away like a thread pulling a freight. You'll see what I mean. Our right to bear arms cannot be taken away. The Second Amendment is clear. But there's got to be something Congress can do with mass shootings increasing each year. When I was a child, I was told seriously that my body belonged to myself. And as an adult, I was told by my clinic that my choices are mine for my health. our country, land of the free, with our Statue of Liberty. I used to think I could be me and even have rights to privacy. To be a citizen meant something, but with every passing day that freedom's being stripped away like a thread pulling a fray. You'll see what I mean. If all lives are precious and should be protected, tell me, where are the homeless to live? And when Mother Earth can no longer sustain us, how many lives shall we give? The world that we live in is not just our country's, all that our living must share. But our governing body is okay with it rotting and won't allow laws to repair. Our country, land of the free, with our Statue of Liberty. I used to think I could be me and even have rights to privacy. To be a citizen meant something, but with every passing day that freedom's being stripped away like a thread pulling a fray. You'll see what I mean. Our country, land of the free, not just a Statue of Liberty. I want to know I can be me and even have rights to privacy. To be a citizen means something. With every day and night we must fight for those rights. I hope someday you'll see what I mean. Thank you. Okay, so now we're gonna do the sing-along. So hopefully you all are ready. We are going to start with I Shall Not Be Moved. Okay, so we're starting with I Shall Not Be Moved. Is that what I said? Yeah. Okay. So I shall not be moved. I shall not be moved like a tree that's planted by the water. I shall not be moved. On the way to glory, I shall not be moved. On the way to glory, I shall not be moved like a tree that's planted by the water. I shall not be moved. On the way to freedom, I shall not be moved. On the way to freedom, I shall not be moved like a tree that's planted by the water. I shall not be moved. On the way to justice, I shall not be moved. On the way to justice, I shall not be moved like a tree that's planted by the water. I shall not be moved. On the planted by the water, I shall not be moved. I shall not be moved. I shall not be moved like a tree that's planted by the water. I shall not be moved. And we shall not be moved. We shall not be moved like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by the water, we shall not be moved. Woo! Okay. All right, so now Brian's going to come up and he's going to say some stuff. Or Kathleen, are you going to say it first? Kathleen's going to talk first.
Thank you. Yes, I do. Thank you. So I'm just going to take a second to get a picture of all of you today because this is what happens when neighbors show up for neighbors. And I'm never able to get a picture like this because I'm off to the side. Thank you. Okay. This is what happens when people show up to affirm that we believe in our Declaration of Independence, but also to show up to show each other that we are not alone. So we will not be silenced, we will not be divided, we will not be ruled. And I would like to pass the microphone on to Brian Ewert, who will speak and guide you over to Veterans Parkway.
Good afternoon. So this is a little bit of a call and response. So you have a short line, and basically when I say no kings, guess what you say? No kings. Very good. Let's practice that one more time. No kings. No kings. Perfect. Well, we are in good company that's been around for a long time, and as many of the signs here point out, that 250 years ago, there was a group of pretty radical people who came up with the idea that all people are created equal. And they put it into the Declaration of Independence. And the reason they did that, because they were living under a tyrant, and they were ready to say, no kings. No kings. So, in their language, they said there are injuries and usurpations that this tyrant is doing, and the sole object was to establish tyranny. And it's rather interesting to look at their list of complaints with the tyrant because they are so relevant to today. Things like refusing to protect the public good. Sounds familiar. Forbidding the passage of laws that would help the people. Obstructing justice. Let us all give a call out to Robert Mueller, who died this week. Yes. And finally, taking away civilian control of our military. And because of that, they said, no kings. No kings. So after they were done expelling the tyrant and his military, of course, they set about putting down the Constitution. And that's where we come up with the we, the people. What a radical concept that we, the people, would decide that we should be governing ourselves, not a tyrant governing us. And they set out, of course, to set up a more perfect union, and we're still working on that. We don't have it perfect yet, but we have that aspiration. And they wanted domestic tranquility. They wanted a common defense, general welfare, and the blessings of liberty. And they knew that they had to absolutely have no kings if they were going to meet these goals. So here we are, 250 years later, still working on the aspirations of equality for all and the goal that we, the people, will design the government that rules over us. Because there are troubles with kings. And then one of their troubles is they like the idea of privilege, which goes back to the old French of private law. So they have a private set of law for them, which doesn't apply to the rest of us. And in that private law, ooh, Aaron, you want to give me a little less? Thank you. In that private law, all of a sudden there's a few people who get private information. We saw that this week with the manipulation of the stock market. All of a sudden a core group of people know when to place their bets on the price of oil 15 minutes before we get the latest iteration of peace is at hand. We have heard that one before and know that peace is not at hand, but millions of dollars were made by those who were inside the privilege fence. So we have the insider trading. The people who wrote the Constitution knew this could happen. They wrote clauses about this, but of course the Trump administration has plowed right through the emollients clause and enriched themselves and their families. But then something else that the founders of our Constitution did not see coming, but certainly goes way back, is the sexual predator part of privilege. And of course this goes back to royalty, to antiquity with concubines and harems and sex slaves, and now we know through the Epstein files that it's right here, right now. There are still people who think that they have the privilege to abuse vulnerable people and be sexual predators, and to the point where we have a leader of a country sending a pornographic birthday card, and that is why we say, no kings. No kings. And then the other part that the founders worked diligently to was to control the impulse of kings to misuse power and violence. And they did this through the Bill of Rights, and then they did it within the Constitution. And in the Bill of Rights, they said, okay, the state, the government has the power of violence, but it has to be controlled. And that's why we have the Bill of Rights. And of course, what we have seen with the violent and cruel enforcement of immigration law is the Bill of Rights being plowed right through. And of course, the will of Congress being completely absent because Congress is not owning up to their job of passing laws to solve the complex issues we face with immigration. And of course, this has now led to the extrajudicial murders of our own citizens in our neighboring state of Minnesota with Renee Good and Alex Preddy. And this is why we say, no kings. No kings. And now within the last month, we've unfortunately realized the other concern of the founders with the war in Iran. The founders knew that when kings have power over the military, they will misuse that power. Much of the Declaration of Independence is grievances against the king for the misuse of military power. So they set up boundaries and they said, we will only go to war when our representatives say it is time to go to war. We will honor our people in the military service by making sure this has been well thought out and that we support it. And obviously this is not happening. This is the reason that the founders said, no kings. No kings. And amazingly, we have $1 billion a day to blow on this illegal war, and yet just last summer we were told that we couldn't feed children, we couldn't house people, we couldn't provide health care because we couldn't afford it. But now somehow we can afford to be bombing children in Iran and having our own service members, as recently as last night, severely injured in an unjust and illegal war. So, what is our response? Well, obviously you are here today doing it by loudly proclaiming, no kings. No kings. But the next response we can learn from our neighbors right next door in Minnesota. And there's a new phrase out there, it's called neighborism, and a new verb out there, it's called neighboring. And that's what the people in the Twin Cities did this winter. Yes, shout out to they realized that it was critical to first and foremost be good neighbors, to take care of the people who you live with, be kind, be aware of who is suffering, and address their suffering. And really, in the words of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, be the helpers. When you see someone who needs help, be the helpers. And that's exactly what Renee Good and Alex Preddy were doing. They were being the helpers. And unfortunately, we have learned how cruel and violent this immigration action has been, that our own helpers were killed on the streets of Minneapolis. And particularly Alex Preddy. I mean, that Alex Preddy strikes me pretty hard. Alex Preddy was an ICU nurse at the Veterans Hospital in Minneapolis. I have worked with ICU nurses for 40 years. These are the people who are so skillful that they are managing an incredibly complex array of medical therapies to help a critically ill person get better. But they are also tender, and when that person needs to have their incontinence addressed, they are right there, helping the person become comfortable and clean. But they are also the people of compassion. So when the grieving family is at the bedside, they hold the hand. That's the kind of people that make up ICU nurses. That's who Alex Preddy was. He was on the streets of Minneapolis being the helper, and we are all called to be the helpers and proclaim no kings, and be kind to our neighbors. So the next thing we need to do this year is vote. So April 7th, we have an election coming up. Know the candidates. Know the candidates that support liberty. Know the candidates that will protect your vote if it comes to the court. Know who to vote for. Be aware, show up on April 7th. Make sure you cast your vote. And then, of course, in November 3rd, we have the most critical election, because right now we have a feckless and irresponsible Congress. They are not funding the people who keep us safe in the airports. They had the chance to do that just yesterday. They went home. Now, the last time I was on call, I didn't have the option when I had obligations to people to just go home. I stayed and did my work like we all do in our community. But our feckless Congress is doing that. So as we move towards November, learn the candidates. Ask the candidates, do you support no kings? No kings! Or do you support the tyranny that the Declaration of Independence called out that we cannot tolerate? So when it comes to November, if you have money, donate to the candidate. If you have time, volunteer for candidates. Use your voice to talk to your friends and neighbors and make sure they know who the candidates are who will honor the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. So again, now we will proclaim to our community-long veterans that we are claiming no kings, in America. And I will grab the flag and we will start walking towards Veterans Parkway. The walkway, yes. Okay, and keep the walkway clear. Oh, we have someone who lost a wallet. Bridget Birch. We have a wallet. We'll keep it up here. Megan, okay. All right, here she comes. Very good. All right, we will get going. Thank you very much. All part of being in the community and being good neighbors. Thank you.
Let's give Brian Ewert a hand. And just a reminder, when we go over to Veterans Parkway, there is a pretty wide sidewalk there, so stay on the side of the sidewalk toward the road and leave the back part of it for pedestrians. Thank you so much for being here today. Let's go.